Welcome to the Stoic Quotient. This isn't surface-level motivation. This is where you come to wake up, to burn through illusion, to rise through truth. Some people see evil with their own eyes and still defend it. Why? In this powerful episode from the Stoic Quotient, we explore the heartbreaking and often hidden reason people stay loyal to systems, ideologies, and leaders they know are wrong. This isn't about ignorance, it's about fear, identity, and the cost of awakening. Why do people stay loyal to what they know is wrong? Why do people see terrible things, know they're wrong, and still support them? Because loyalty, when twisted by fear, becomes a form of self-imprisonment. It blinds us not because we don't see the truth, but because we're terrified of what that truth might cost. When your identity is built around a belief, a person, or a tribe, the mere act of questioning it feels like a death. So we cling, not to what is right, but to what is familiar, even if it's corrupt, even if it harms others, even if it harms us. Because walking away means risking exile, ridicule, and honestly, the agony of starting over. And you know, most people would rather suffer in silence than face the grief of disillusionment. That's how fear disguises itself as loyalty, and how millions stay shackled to lies, not because they're blind, but because they're afraid to see. Some people would rather defend evil than admit they were wrong. Some would rather stay loyal to the tribe than risk exile for truth. Some are trapped in generational narratives where questioning authority means betrayal, and others are so deeply conditioned by propaganda, pain, or upbringing that to question what they've supported would shatter their entire sense of self. This is not about stupidity, it's about survival. It's about fear masquerading as allegiance. It's about the unbearable shame that comes with realizing you helped uphold something that harmed others. And so, to protect the image of who they believe themselves to be, people double down. They silence the voice inside that says, "This isn't right." They become defensive, aggressive, even hateful. Because honestly, it's easier to attack the truth than face what it demands. When we fear rejection more than we fear being wrong, we will defend the indefensible. When we mistake comfort for truth, we'll stay quiet in the presence of injustice, because speaking would mean losing everything we've known. This is why systems of power don't just control what you see, they manipulate what you fear. Because when someone controls what you're afraid of losing, your status, your family, your identity, your certainty, they don't need to convince you of anything. They just need to make the cost of truth feel too high. So, you stay quiet. You play along. You keep nodding at lies you don't believe because breaking from the herd feels more dangerous than betraying your soul. This is the invisible leash. Not force, but fear of disconnection. The fear of losing your place in a world that never saw you clearly to begin with. And for many, that fear is stronger than the pull of truth. We live in a culture that rewards obedience and punishes originality. A world that elevates blind conformity while silencing courageous thought. From our earliest years, we're taught to follow the script, not question it. To memorize, not to understand. To stay within the lines rather than draw our own. Obedience is praised as virtue, while wisdom, real, lived, uncomfortable wisdom, is seen as rebellion. We are conditioned to repeat what we've been told, not because it's true, but because it's safe. And in that safety, we lose our fire. We trade our discernment for approval. We become echoes instead of voices. But in times like these, obedience is not virtue, it is the death of conscience. And conformity is not peace, it is the slow erasure of truth. So loyalty becomes a weapon, not of righteousness, but of desperation. It morphs into a shield people cling to in environments where speaking the truth is met with punishment, not praise. In families where silence is love. In workplaces where obedience is currency. In nations where conformity is survival. Loyalty becomes a mask, one that suffocates the soul while preserving the illusion of safety. People wear it to stay protected, to stay accepted, to avoid the terrifying isolation that comes from standing alone in truth. But under that mask is a person dying to be free. Because in places that reward silence and punish honesty, loyalty isn't noble, it's a trauma response. But there comes a moment when silence becomes suffering, when the dissonance becomes too loud to ignore, when the soul begins to whisper, "This isn't who you are." That moment is sacred. It's the first crack in the armor. It's the beginning of awakening. It may come quietly, like a whisper in the dark, or violently, like a collapse of everything you thought you believed. But it always brings a choice: numb it or answer it, double down or rise up. At the Stoic Quotient, we rise, not perfectly, but courageously. Because silence is not strength, and loyalty that costs your soul is not virtue. It takes honestly immense courage to say, "I was wrong, I've changed, I no longer align with this." But really, that's where power begins. That's where integrity is born. To awaken is not to hate those who are still asleep. It is instead to become the mirror they cannot ignore. So we stop protecting the lie just because we were once part of it. We stop performing loyalty when our soul is screaming for truth. And yeah, we stop handing over our conscience in exchange for a seat at someone else's table. We build new tables, new ways of thinking, new definitions of what it means to belong. If this stirred something inside you, don't run from it. Sit with it, speak it, share it. You don't have to carry the weight of the illusion any longer, and you don't have to stay loyal to your pain. Join us, subscribe, reflect, rise. This is the Stoic Quotient, where truth meets courage, where the cycle ends with you. Thanks for watching.